Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, where we break mental health stigmas through conversations. I'm your host, Nat, and we dive into topics about trauma and how it impacts the nervous system. Yet we don't just leave you there. We share insights and tools of self-care, meditation, and growth that help you be curious about your own biology. Your presence matters. Please like and subscribe to our podcast. Help our community grow. Let's get into this. Oh, and please remember to be kind to yourself. Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast. I am your host, Nat, and today I have an amazing guest called Ian, who is going to talk about purpose and how to actually put that into action in your everyday living. So, Ian, if you could introduce yourself to the listeners and let us know a little bit about yourself and what is this purpose?
I live in Toronto, in Canada, just north of Buffalo, for those who aren't familiar with that is. And I have a 27-year-old son who is fully launched as a journalist and who I'm quite excited about. And for the past 20 years, I've dedicated myself to purpose. First, in a corporate environment, to help companies define their purpose and then have everything that they do and everything that they say be guided by purpose. So it becomes the primary strategic imperative of a company. And then I adapted that to individuals, first as a one-on-one that I would do with them, but now as a course where I lead you step by step through the process of discovering your purpose, revealing it, defining it in 7 words or less, and then designing how you're going to live your life based on that articulation, that clear, concise, and compelling articulation of your purpose.
Okay. Well, before we dive in, because I have some questions that I want to know what it is. And I also probably have the same questions that the listeners want to engage in. So before we go into that, would you join me in meditation so that we can ground ourselves in our breath and to enter into a deep conversation?
Yes, for sure.
And for the listeners, as you always hear, my safety spiel, most people listen to a podcast while driving. So please, safety first, don't close your eyes when I ask Ian and myself to close them. Yet the other prompts you're able to follow through. And please take this mindful moment for yourself. It does a world of difference. So Alan, sorry about that. Ian, when you're comfortable, in your seating, I'm going to ask you to gently close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. You're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to bring your awareness to watching the rhythm of it and allowing it to bring you in your body. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up in the body, and that's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop deeper into your body. By now, there may be some thoughts or tasks that have popped up in your mind, and that's okay. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, creating a space between the awareness and your thoughts, and going deeper into your body. Keeping that awareness on your breath. More thoughts may have popped up, and that's okay. Bring your awareness to your breath, creating more space between the awareness and the thoughts, and going deeper into your body. Just being observant of the breath going in and out. Now, while still staying with your breath, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while staying with the breath. How's your heart doing?
It's very calm.
So before we got into breathing and grounding ourselves, we talked about purpose. And for some, they hear the word, yet they don't really know what that definition really means. So could you give it in a simple term so that people can really understand in bite size and be able to digest what purpose is and why it's important?
Yes, yes, I can. And the reason I say it like that is because if you go online, you will see either a million different definitions of purpose or one, right? So I think if you asked 100 people on the street, what's the definition of purpose? They'd say something along the lines of why I exist. And, that's a fine answer, but try and use that definition to figure out what your purpose is. It's too, it's too nebulous. You can't. So then you get into all the other definitions, and which are, to a large degree academic, and they're all just gobbledygook, gobbledygook. So where my definition comes from is Pablo Picasso, the famous artist. And he had a famous quote where he said, "The meaning of life is to find your gift, and your purpose is to share it with the world." And I just rephrased that to make it even simpler than that, which is that your purpose in life is to find your gift and share it with the world. And instead of calling it your gift, I call it that one thing at your root, at your essence, that makes you uniquely remarkable. Just, articulating it that way makes it easier to work with. But what it means is at the end of the day, that what your purpose is that one thing at your essence that makes you uniquely remarkable. It's in here, it's not out there. It's not the pursuit of that, right? It's not dedicating yourself to a cause like climate or something like that. It's knowing what your superpower is and then offering that to people because they want it. But you just don't know that they want it until you know what it is and can tell them what it is. So, end of the day, definition, purpose is that one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable at your essence.
Now, let me ask you this, because when people finally start doing their healing internally, a lot of people think healing is to be a new person, when really, in actuality, it's removing the layers of pain to get to the greatness that is already inside you. When people start to discover more and more of their greatness because they're removing those layers of pain, does that purpose change at all in their evolution of life, or is it always consistent?
No, because, I'm 65. When I think back to who I was when I was 18 or when I was 30 or, 45, I was essentially the same person. Now, hopefully I've learned I've learned a couple of things on that journey, but you're essentially the same. And even if you do a lot of work on yourself, which I did, I was stripping away as much of the bad stuff as I could. But what I was left with was still the same.
Hmm.
And so what makes me uniquely remarkable now as a person made me uniquely remarkable back when I was 30. I was chasing the same thing. And just so you know what that is, right? My standard is to define your purpose in 7 words or less. And when you say that, you think, oh, that's not a lot of words, but actually it's usually 2 or 3 or 4. And my purpose statement is transforming confusion into clarity. That's my superpower. That's my secret sauce. And so my purpose is to find my gift, transforming confusion into clarity, and share it with the world. And I do it, excuse me, in a number of ways. So in business, I mean, it applies in my personal world as well. But in business, the way I share it with the world is in this service I do for corporations and in this course that I offer for individuals. which allows them or enables them both to do the same thing. Define your purpose, and then use that short statement in 7 words or less to actually design with intentionality how you're going to live your life.
Would you say that statement can be also labeled as a mission statement? So that whenever you feel the overwhelm or, feeling a sense of doubt or loss, that you can come back to that mission statement and it can ground you within to remember to go within and not outside of yourself?
So if calling it a mission statement works for you, then my feeling is do whatever works for you.
Mhm.
And my business partner, sadly, he died during COVID, not of COVID, but so my business partner, Ken, when we started this business, the corporate business, it was because we had a shared passion for strategy, but a shared frustration with how it's done traditionally. And most companies start with defining mission, vision, and values.
Mhm.
And then when I say to people in business, can you tell me the difference between vision and mission? Most of them can't.
Yeah.
And then when I say, well, so what are your corporate values? They say things like, well, honesty, integrity, accountability. And it's like, when I come to a company, I think I'm honest. I think I have integrity. I think I practice accountability. So how does having those values guide my behavior as an employee of the company? I mean, that's what the values are supposed to do. So we just said, this is all wrong.
Mhm.
People abuse mission and vision and then forget it. And then they have values that do nothing to guide the behavior of the company. So we need to do something different. And that's what we did. So we invented the process of blueprinting. And in a corporate environment, I'll just get this out of the way because I know our conversation is about individuals.
Yeah.
But in a corporate environment, define your purpose in 7 words or less. And then we design how the company is going to operate, how it's going to be structured, how it's going to be staffed, how you're going to develop products and services, how you're going to deliver them to the marketplace. And then we design how the company is going to communicate. And people will take that design after the blueprint and they'll figure out your brand, your marketing, your sales, and all of that stuff. So the blueprint is the top level guide to everything the company does and says. And that's what we created to replace mission, vision, and values.
Mhm.
Now, you asked me within the context of an individual, and my answer would be yes. Your purpose and your mission are the same thing.
I think, explaining the business wise, a lot of people can maybe understand why they're frustrated in the place of employment that they are, because they can see that there's this gnawing thing that, like, is there anything of purpose that's going on with the work that we're doing, and feeling that sense of unfulfillment and better understanding that, like, the nudges you're feeling internally, it's valid because there is no direction, or it's not making sense, or it's very conflicting. There's not a true North Star guidance. And so I think I thank you for elaborating that, because yes, you've branched out to individual, yet a lot of people are in a corporate world or working for another person.
They
And
want that.
yeah,
They
so
want that where they work.
they
And
do.
some of them, first of all, almost no company can define its purpose. Almost none, 98%. But of that 98%, there's many of them that are fabulous places to work. And that's because they don't realize it, but they're staying more true to their purpose than the companies that aren't fabulous places to work.
Yeah.
And if you've worked at a place like that, how fulfilled you feel, how inspired you feel, how motivated you feel, how above and beyond you want to go just because it feeds your soul. Your career is feeding your soul. How many of us can say that?
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
it's incumbent on the company. Like, people are all over that. If you can clearly define your purpose, people will be all over you. Because the people who share your purpose will be all over you. They'll be lined up at the door to work for you.
Yeah.
because it aligns with their individual purpose, right?
A question came in my mind that possibly some listeners might have is that sometimes when people hear purpose, it then means that you need to be an entrepreneur and only, work at what this purpose is and being like I said, an entrepreneur, where I think, that's where people get a really false narrative. It's really what is your guiding insight. So could you break that down for people that may only think that it's only for entrepreneurs and it wouldn't translate in a person that has a career in a corporation or a company?
This is the first time in a podcast that I've been asked that question, and it's a great question. So I told you that my purpose is transforming confusion into clarity. My business partner, Ken, his was causing wow. So I tended in meetings to be more active. Ken was more passive, but he's sitting there and he's like loading up on information. And then he would say, people almost forget he's there. And then he'd say, blah. And it's incredibly profound. And everyone just goes, holy cow, where did that come from? That was brilliant. And so imagine Ken and I as employees of a company. And we're able to clearly communicate to all of our colleagues what our purposes are, right? I'm transforming confusion into clarity. Ken is causing wow. If your team has a great idea, but it needs spicing up, it needs something to really kick it over the top, who do you go to? Transforming confusion into clarity or causing wow to help you out? Obviously, you go to causing wow. Now, if you've got a complex market problem with a whole bunch of conflicting information, and you need to, separate the wheat from the chaff, detangle the strings, as one of my clients described our process. Do you go to causing wow or do you go to transforming confusion into clarity?
Yeah.
Bingo. Both of those applications, we're employees of a corporation. And if every employee is able to articulate their purpose in a clear, concise, and compelling way, then people know better how to include them in whatever it is that they're doing and how to leverage their true talent, their superpower.
Yeah. So another thought came into my mind. When people really can like define their purpose, how does that activate fulfillment and how does that activate self-motivation?
Okay. Um, First of all, a criteria of a proper purpose statement is that it resonates with you on a deep emotional level, right? Your purpose statement has to inspire you. And if it doesn't, it's not your purpose. Um, Discovering that you have a superpower, and especially for people who don't feel they have a great place in life, that their lot in life is just to live, you know, a mild mannered life. But if you said to them, well, if you had the opportunity to do great things, would you take that opportunity? They go, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. But that's not me. That's other people. No, you have a superpower. And when you discover what that superpower is, that gives you confidence. And the beauty of it is it can never be taken away from you. Right. So it's always there. And when times are tough, you can rely on it to help you out because it's a decision-making tool. So it helps you make better decisions. But also just the confidence of knowing you feel sort of down and out, but wait, no, I got a superpower. Can't take that away from me. I have value. And that helps to pick you up. The other thing is that the component parts of your purpose are your beliefs. So what drives what you think? Your wants, right? So what do you want to get out of life? And your talents, whether you're born with them or you develop them along the way. So in the course where I lead you through a process step by step to discover your purpose, I lead you through this process of deconstructing. I'm not going to tell you what, but deconstructing stuff about you until we get to the bottom where your beliefs, wants, and talents fall out. And you've got them defined in 3 different lists. And then a really exciting thing happens. You use AI as your thinking partner to figure out from those beliefs, wants, and talents, what's your purpose. Now, once you do that, what that means is that your purpose statement is a stand-in for your beliefs, wants, and talents. And when you make a decision that is aligned with your purpose, what you're really saying is, I'm making a decision that is aligned with my beliefs, wants, and talents. And when you do that, basically you're feeding your soul. You're making the right decision because it's a decision that is aligned with you.
Yeah. I'm now reflecting on my statement, and I'm going to have to inquire about this course because I see that there needs to be a little bit more refining on my purpose statement. Um, so I can feel Ken's presence in this conversation, and I can see that he's energetically always with you. How was it as an individual, having to process the grief of your partner transitioning and, having to pivot as a solo entrepreneur to continue going and, sailing the ship moving forward, yet still, feeling that grief, but really I see how you've transformed it and allowed joy to be felt when you're speaking about his presence and being invigorated with it. So, can you share what that looked like for you in that process?
Yeah, well, we were, we were in business for almost 20 years together. And there was magic in how we fed off each other. And we both knew that we could create more in that collaboration than we could do separately. And so it was a huge loss. He was a great guy. He had a magnetic personality. He was very charismatic and, just attracted people to him. And he was very generous with his time and his thinking. So he was constantly helping other people. And they became lifelong friends to him. They were so grateful for what he did. So that loss is huge. And I would say for over 6 months, maybe close to a year, I didn't do Blueprint because it didn't seem like, it was something to do alone. But then I started to realize that this was in my bones. And that, although we created it together, it's in my bones as it was in his bones. And so I was just compelled to try and resurrect it. And in that process, what happened, there was no individual blueprint. There was only the corporate one. But I became a coach, like an executive coach, a generic one. And as I hung out my shingle, I wondered how the marketplace was going to speak to me and tell me to specialize. And it happened the very first phone call with a prospect. He said, the pandemic has got me reevaluating my life. We call that a trigger event, though. And by the way, an event that happens and then it throws your whole future into uncertainty, and that causes anxiety. So he said, the pandemic has got me rethinking my life. I don't like my career. I don't like how I'm living my life. I want to live a life of meaning and purpose. And I said, that's awesome. What's your purpose? And he went, I don't know. So it made me realize I could take this behemoth that I I had co-created for corporations, strip out the stuff that didn't pertain to an individual, add some stuff in that did, and then voila, we have an individual blueprint. And then a client of mine, when he heard about that, came along and he said, I have a teaching infrastructure that I could just plunk on top of that. And rather than you doing it one-on-one with people, you can offer it to millions. And so that's, you see on the bottom of my screen there, Purpose U, that stands for Purpose University. And so at purposeu.co, that's what we're doing. We're offering a step-by-step course to define your purpose in 7 words or less, and then design a life of meaning and purpose from that. Now, the course is not launched yet. It's launching this fall. But if you go to that, I guess I'm jumping the gun on promoting.
It's all right. Let it come out.
But if you go to that website, you can enter your email address there. And the moment the course launches, you'll get a notification and you'll be the first in line. So I'm so excited about it because I know I'm blabbing on and on here. I'm sorry, Nat.
All right.
In the intervening time between when we tested it last fall, got tons of great feedback, tore it apart, put it back together. It became easy to, well, not easy, but to integrate AI into it.
Mm-hmm.
So now AI holds your hand. It holds one hand, and I hold the other hand and lead you step by step through this course. But oh my God, the process of using the AI to do it is so much fun.
Yeah.
And you learn so much about yourself, so much about yourself.
Yeah. Can you retell the listeners what the what the website is so that they can, because I know they're like, wait, what did he say? What was the website and where's the information?
Sure. Well, you can see it hopefully at the bottom at the bottom of my window there. The corporate is the number 7 words dot biz, biz. And then if you want an individual blueprint, if you want to be able to define your superpower in 7 words or less, it's purposeu.co, purposeu.co.
Okay. Yeah, because the podcast is not only visual, it's auditory. So a lot of people are driving, like I said, listening to. So it's like, what are you talking about? See it here. I don't see anything. And they're like, what is this?
All I see is the traffic jam in front of me.
Exactly. Now I want to get to my purpose and really define it. I want to thank you for, sharing the intimacy of the relationship between you and Ken. And, that was like a relationship, a marriage, 2 decades is very intimate to really grow with somebody and really, work and build off of each other's energy, personalities, their gifts and purposes, and, offer that to other people to be energized in their own life story and journey. And the way that I love that you said for 6 months or a year, there was nothing going on, because a lot of people think there's a bounce back right quick and they don't allow a space for grief to really allow that processing, because you're going into a whole new reality, a whole new world. And there's a lot of things that you want to resist and you have to feel and reflect and all that. Yet I think in society, that's where the disservice is that we want people to just get over grief and just keep moving forward, where that impacts the mental health in a lot of ways, because if you don't feel it, it gets stuck in there and it just builds up. Yet you have done the alchemy of taking those impurity of grief and you've transformed it into gold, and not only kept the gold, but you're sharing it with other people. You're showing in your lived experience what it looks like to actually take, what the experience is and pivot and find what will work for you. Yeah, it's not going to look the same, yet, let it evolve and let it grow into what will work for you in this new world. So I really thank you for sharing that with the listeners so that they can relate even more profoundly in their own personal life. Because I think a lot of times people hear these stories and they don't really hear, like, yeah, there was some shit that I had to process. Like, it wasn't all like great. And I was lost. I didn't know what direction or where it was going. Yet something in me was nudging, and that GPS was telling me, no, no, we still got other places to go. There's more adventure. We're not just sitting right here.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. That was very, very kind thing to say. And yeah, that was that did capture that journey.
I have a reflective question for you. I'm asking you to take your awareness right now and to go back to your 18-year-old self. And for that 18-year-old self, you have 3 words to tell yourself to get you through to the journey right now. What would those words be?
Find your purpose. And find your purpose, right?
Yeah.
I was standing in front of 2 mothers in the supermarket. This was last June, and their kids were convocating from university, obviously, because one mother talked to the other about the crisis of graduation. The crisis. You normally celebrate that. No, the crisis is the kid's coming home and invading my space. The kid has no direction, doesn't know what he or she wants to do. How long are they going to be hanging around in my basement? But there's also the angst for the kid themselves, right?
Yeah.
You know, are they going to do well? I want my child to, and then there's the kid's angst. Oh my God, I'm graduating from childhood to adulthood. How the heck do you do that? And if you've got the grounding in that moment of knowing what makes you uniquely remarkable, right? I just want to take a quick aside because I told you that it's a decision-making tool. Here's how it works, because it's really important. You're faced with a situation. Let's say you've come out of university and you've got 2 jobs, job opportunities. Which one do I take? They
Yeah.
both look good. Well, if you know what makes you uniquely remarkable in 7 words or less, then you say, which one is most aligned with my purpose? And then you choose that one. And
Mhm.
that's how it takes the confusion of, oh my God, which of these 2 opportunities do I choose? And the anxiety that causes to, well, there's only one clear choice because this is the one that's aligned with my purpose. So that's how you solve the crisis of graduation. And that's foot one on the adulthood journey, right? So you don't want to get that first step wrong, because if you're off by 5 degrees coming out of the gate, you're going to be off by 45 degrees by the time you're 35 or 40.
Yeah. And go into that midlife crisis of not
Yeah.
knowing who you are, your identity, and your purpose. Something that came up when you were explaining that inner process of asking, would you say being in your purpose allows you to have a better relationship with intuition? Do you believe in intuition?
Here's what I believe about intuition. Um, you have 2 different parts of your brain coming up with thoughts in your head. You have your neocortex, and your neocortex is great at language. It's the rational part of your brain. It's the little voice in your head that's always, evaluating the pros and the cons, you think. And you always know what's going on in the neocortex because, like I said, it has a capacity for language. So it's always talking to you. But the other place is in your limbic system. And that's the home of feelings and emotions. And you don't have a capacity for language there. But there is so much more going on there that drives your life, arguably, than even in the neocortex. And I think that's what intuition is. I think That is the thought, that is the feelings and emotions part of your brain trying to speak to you with no capacity for language. And it's coming out as feelings. It's coming out as being aware of what your body tells you. It comes out as, I just think this and I don't know why. I can't explain, but I just know. I just know it's right. It's because it's in your limbic system. So I think I've forgotten your question, but I've answered that's what I believe.
The intuition. And I was saying that you're, you know, defining your purpose, like you said, the neocortex has the language, yet the limbic system goes by abstract and feelings. And for me, what you're explaining in this purpose thing combines the two so that they can be more aligned, that your limbic system can give you guidance that you can now trust more, and then give it verbiage of, okay, is it this direction of fear? Because the limbic activates fear also in protection, yet it also will activate curiosity. And a lot of people squash their curiosity because I don't know how to go into the unknown and uncertainty. And when you're in your purpose and your guidance, you're going to go into that unknown and uncertainty, yet you're not going to be pushed down by fear. You're going to be propelled by the fear so that you're aligned with it all. There's not all this conflict and splintered parts and everything else. If that's how I'm interpreting what this purpose course will help to demonstrate, that it's not one or the other. It's bringing a wholeness with the double W and connecting it all so that there is language for these things that don't have language yet, and that you can better trust within yourself than having to go outside and getting validation by others.
Yeah, I'd never really thought about it this way until you articulated that. But yes, your purpose does live one foot in your neocortex and one foot in your limbic system. So your purpose has to resonate. I think I mentioned this before, on a deep emotional level.
Yeah.
And where it does that is in your limbic system. So if you come up with a purpose and it resonates on a deep emotional level, that's your limbic system saying to you, yes, 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 you got it, you got it. That's who I am, as your limbic system.
Yeah.
But in the course, I explained to you how it not only has to resonate on a deep emotional level, it has to make logical sense. Because actually, if it doesn't make logical sense, it's not going to resonate on a deep emotional level. So yes, it does reside in both parts of your brain, and brings them together.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what I got. Like, it's like really connecting you more into that intuition, where a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
people aren't connected into their limbic because it's too frightening. I want to analyze and be in my head and analytical. I don't know how to come into my body. And the limbic is in your body, it's in that nervous system that records everything. Yet everything it recorded, it doesn't mean it's happening now. So, what I hear from what this course does is connect the two. I get where people want to just arrive somewhere and they're not really understanding what integration is. It's like you
Mm,
don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Not
mm.
everything that's inside you is supposed to get rid. It's like there's some things that can be joined. They need to be polished, yeah, yet and refined, yet you can amalgamate and then you have a wholeness with the W. And that's what I hear from what your course and what you provide to people so that they can go within themselves and trust in what their biology and what their uniqueness is, and give it verbiage and advocate for it. Have confidence in, you know what, I do have something to offer that's uniquely mine.
Yeah, if you make decisions that are aligned with your purpose, you are making decisions that are aligned with your limbic system. And that's, and if you buy what I say about intuition, that means it's aligned with your intuition, and it's actually helping to bring your intuition out in a more practical and tangible and concrete way.
Yeah. Yeah. Bang on. So again, can you let the listeners know exactly where they can find you? And even if you're on any social media or anything like that, where they can get in contact with you, and also subscribe to the course that's coming out in the fall. And also maybe just ask you some more questions so that they can have a little bit more certainty.
Sure, sure. Well, so if you want to discover your purpose, as a person, then please go to purposeu.co. That's purpose with the letter U at the end, as in university, right? Purposeu.co. And you'll get to a landing page that allows you to enter your email address, and we will inform you when the course launches this fall. And if you're curious on a corporate standpoint about how to make your organization uniquely remarkable on a 24/7 basis, then the number 7words.biz. B-I-Z. We say B-I-Z like the British do.
That's funny.
7words.biz.
Okay. And that will be all in the show notes so that you can really access Ian. If at any point in this podcast, this conversation, something tugged at you that you felt an opening, don't hesitate. Just contact Ian. There was something there, like we said, in your limbic system that it resonated. And there's something that he has that will give you even more verbiage and more understanding to, be the writer of your story. A lot of us don't command the pen of the script
Yes,
of our story. We let others. So you
yes,
want to be that author and you want to be commanding that pen and writing out the words and the lines and the pages. So this is what Ian is providing for you so that you can take actionable steps in the now for aligning and feeling more fulfilled. Because when you're in that purpose, you are motivated to want to engage more because you're getting a feedback loop of more energizing. So
yeah,
even when
yeah,
you don't want to get out of bed, that statement just your limbic gets alive. Like even if you're depleted and tired, it's like, no, we can get energized with this because there's this feedback loop that is being serving, not just something draining you, it's something that's filling you also. And I
yes.
think that's what a lot of people are looking for in the world, and they just don't know how to access that. So thank you for, bringing this forth, not just in the corporate world, but for the individuals also. I want to ask you, is there something that you want to leave for the listeners that would empower them?
Yeah, I can actually start them on this journey. And so this question pertains to corporations as much as it does to individuals. So if I was just talking to you, Nat, and you said, well, how do I get started? I would say, consider this question. If everything that you do, everywhere in your life, your career, your family life, if everything that you do is a means to an end, what is the end purpose? What in the aggregate is everything that you do working towards? And then it's the same thing for a company, right? Because it really bamboozles executives, because I say to them, if everything you do is a means to an end, and they're producing products or services, and they think that is my end purpose, is to pump these out the door and get people to buy them. It's like, no. Those are the activities of your purpose. Those are the expressions of your purpose. So if everything that you do is a means to an end as a corporation, what's the end purpose? It forces them to think one level higher than they've ever thought before.
Yeah. See what the end goal is, not just being in the validation of see my actions, actually being in that purpose of what is it that you want to provide to people? What is the experience or what is it? Great question. I'm really reflecting on that to see the services that I provide to my clients and what does that look like? And um yeah, thank you for that.
No,
Mine
you're
was
welcome.
the word came up is I empower people. And when I say I empower people, it's not that I'm empowering them. I'm holding a space for them to see that they can empower themselves, that they don't think they have the ability for that, and that they can really be curious about their own biology. So we speak the same language. So that's why I was like, oh yeah, like this is integrating the two so that people can really start trusting themselves and being curious about what fulfills me and what is this thing that just comes naturally. It doesn't feel like effort. It doesn't feel like work. And I get energized by it. It doesn't feel mundane or that I have to get up because of the paycheck and because of the money and the bills and all that. It's something that just naturally lights you up. And then when you have language for it, you better understand when you're in those dark places to better understand, like, how do I get back to that light? I want to thank you so much. As I said at the beginning of this podcast, yesterday was hump day, which is a Wednesday, and Wednesday really humped me yesterday. So this has been a very invigorating conversation and
Hey,
a
you
start to
made it
my
all the way
day.
here. I
I
appreciate
thank you for
you and your
everything that
time.
you're
If
providing
you
out in the
found
world. Like
value
I
in
said,
this
the alchemy,
conversation,
like really
please
taking those
share it out.
impurities and
If there was
turning them
somebody
into
that popped
gold,
into your
yet
mind,
not only
take
keep them for
action
yourself,
and
that
share
you're
it out with
sharing
them.
them with
It
others.
possibly may
So I
not
want
be
to
them
thank you.
that
And I
will
want to thank
benefit.
Ken for
It's
being
that
in this
they know
conversation.
somebody
I really
that
felt
will
his
benefit
presence,
from
and
listening to
you
this
really feel
conversation.
him
So
in your
please take
energy field
action
in the
and
way
share
that
out the
you
podcast.
just
You can find
light
us
up
on
the
social
space with him.
media, on
So
Facebook,
he's amongst
Instagram, and
us.
TikTok
Yeah.
under
Thank you.
Lift
Thank you.
OneSelf. And if you
Please
want to
remember to
inquire
be
about
kind
the
to
work that
yourself.
I do and the
Thank you.
services that I provide
And
to
I really
people,
appreciated the
come
opportunity to
over on
speak to
my
you and to speak
website,
to your
come into a
audience.
discovery call,
Thank you.
LiftOneSelf.com. Hey, you made it all the way here. Until next appreciate time, you and your please time. remember to If be you found value kind in this and gentle with conversation, yourself, please share it You out. matter. If there was somebody that popped into your mind, take action and share it out with them. It possibly may not be them that will benefit. It's that they know somebody that will benefit from listening to this conversation. So please take action and share out the podcast. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Lift OneSelf. And if you want to inquire about the work that I do and the services that I provide to people, come over on my website, come into a discovery call, LiftOneSelf.com. Until next time, please remember to be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.